Are you a good sport?
Yes.
I think so.
Do you believe in God?
I don't know how to answer that one.
Was it hard learning how to count to 2?
I don't remember.
When does Hades 2 take place?
A long time ago.
But it does take place after the first game.
It does. It is chronologically after the events of the original game.
Yes.
What happened to Zagreus?
You'll find out.
How do you pronounce the name of Hades 2's protagonist?
We say Melinoë. The Greek is like Melinoë.
So Zagreus doesn't have a secret brother named Zagreus?
We'll have
to consult the original sources.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Has Melinoë ever met her family?
Technically, yes. Very, very long time ago. She has no real memory of it, however. Before a certain age, you maybe at best have little flashes.
Will players need to have seen the true ending of Hades to understand Hades 2's story?
I think we certainly hope not.
Yeah.
It's the sort of thing where you can piece it together as you go along.
How many runs do I need to complete to see the true ending of Hades 2?
That's a good question. We don't know the answer yet because we haven't made the true ending of Hades 2. We're still working on many parts of it, but I'm sure there will be an answer to that.
How did you first learn about Melinoë?
The sources are sprawling. Yeah, led me to the Orphic hymns, which is the specific reference to our name.
Who is Chronos, and why does everybody want him dead?
The short answer is he is the Titan of time. He is the father of Hades and Zeus and Poseidon. Was overthrown by his own children, imprisoned in Tartarus, and now he is back for vengeance. There's a Chronos and there's a Cronus, and over time they would sometimes get conflated.
Okay. Where do Cronuts fit into all that?
They're the hidden final boss after you beat Cronus. Then.
So Olympus has fallen?
Olympus is in some trouble, but has not yet fallen.
Can you explain the difference between Orphism and Greek mythology?
Greek mythology kind of spread out into different factions or variations and stuff like that. And Orphism was like a cult of Greek mythology, so a smaller practice that happened generally much later. Worshipped the practice of Orpheus, the great musician and adventurer that we know from Greek myth and is featured in the original game and stuff like that. Believed to be centered on his teachings and experiences.
Could Melinoë beat Kratos?
I feel like after enough runs.
She has enough Arcana cards.
Yeah, with enough Arcana cards and other upgrades, maybe. But certainly not on the first night.
Is there a Greek god that isn't horrible in some way?
The ones in Hades?
Yeah. There are, what makes the Greek gods so interesting is they have their vices, right? But some of them have fewer vices than others.
So with that said, which Greek gods would you want to be?
These gods like Apollo is basically good at everything.
He's basically OP.
Yes.
Is Hercules in Hades 2?
Heracles is in Hades too.
Hercules is his Roman name.
Yeah.
Which for some reason is more popular. But Heracles, the hero of legend, is indeed in Hades 2.
Has he gone from zero to hero?
In Hades 2, he's
kind of well past that point a little bit. Yeah, Heracles, he's one of those guys. You look into the old stuff about him, he's been through an awful lot.
Are any of the game characters voiced by Danny DeVito?
Phil is not featured in Hades 2, I'm afraid, and no Danny DeVito currently. But then again, we're just getting started with early access, and we don't have the entire cast.
Greg, do you snore like Hypnos in real life?
I may. I've been told that it can happen on occasion.
So are you voicing any new characters in Hades 2?
So a fun fact is Darren and I voice the various foes that you encounter. So they don't necessarily qualify as voicing new characters because they just make weird grunts and things like that. Entirely new characters in the game, no, not at the moment.
What part of the underworld does Hades 2 take place in?
It takes place, at least it starts off, in a place called Erebus, which is kind of the waiting room of the underworld. So you die, you show up in Erebus, and you wait to be sentenced to one of the kind of main areas. So if you're real bad, you go to Tartarus. If you're real good, you go to Elysium, and so on.
So how's Dusa doing?
You may or may not find out.
So since Dusa was short for Medusa, is Dora short for Pandora?
It's an interesting presumption. Wait a minute. Who said Dusa was short for Medusa? We never said that.
Take that, fans. How many new weapons are in Hades 2?
In the early access version of Hades 2, we have 5 new nocturnal arms, each with their own special Omega moves, which take magic to power up and to use. And we're working on a 6th one.
What's your favorite weapon?
It really depends on the day, but usually it's the newest one.
So if this is Greek mythology, why is the 2 in Hades 2 Roman numerals?
We have an answer to that. Yeah, there are little splashes of Roman mythology throughout Hades 2, I would say. The Greek, it would be called Hades Beta if we used Greek, and that wouldn't. Our vast marketing department suggested that calling it Hades Beta may not roll off the tongue.
Can you still raise your bond with the other characters?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can still raise your bond with all the characters. And there are actually more ways to do that in Hades 2 than in the original game as well.
How much nectar do I have to give you guys to max out our bond?
How much you got?
Yeah, exactly.
We'll take it.
I think we should have to ask you 84 questions.
Do you think you're worthy enough to enter Elysium?
No, I don't think we've killed enough people to be able to do that.
We might have in video games.
If Melinoë had a Spotify, what would she listen to?
Scandinavian, European symphonic metal, things like that. Maybe some, according to Darren, some maybe 90s industrial music, that sort of thing. She's a little bit kind of on the goth emo side of things, that kind of thing. Probably a fan of the Smiths.
How long will Hades 2 be in early access?
At least through the end of this year, and beyond that, it's hard to say.
Is Hades 2 inspired by the Titanomachia, aka the Titan War?
This is after that. In the events of Hades 2, these events have already transpired.
Who's the worst father in the Greek pantheon?
I don't want to curse myself by answering this question.
Yeah.
I mean, Chronos wasn't great. Ate his children, so that's pretty bad.
Why are the eye colors flipped for Zagreus and Melinoë?
They are siblings, and that's how genes work sometimes.
Zagreus is sometimes called Orphic Dionysus in ancient literature. Why is that?
Because he was believed to be like a precursor to Dionysus. He's referred to as like the proto-Dionysus, where he was torn apart by Titans and then sort of like reconstituted together, and that became the Dionysus that is more familiar to people.
Besides Hades, what's the best use of Greek mythology in media?
I like the God of War series.
Yeah, I was about to say God of War 2.
Yeah, but I have a soft spot for Clash of the Titans. I saw it as a little kid and probably contributed to my interest in Greek myth from a young age.
Are you sure it's not Herc's Adventures on PlayStation 1?
It might be. I haven't played it.
Why do people get so thirsty playing Hades?
The gods can be an attractive bunch. They're more than us mere mortals.
I was just going to ask if you thought people should drink more water.
They could do that.
They probably
too.
should also.
Hydrating, is very important.
How many new areas are there?
So we haven't made them all, so we can't.
It's hard. It's hard to give a number because some of the areas also are reprised from the first game, but you see them in a different way.
That's true too. What we can say at least is there are already more in Hades 2 in early access than in all of the original game.
Yeah.
The finished version of it. So.
Does the moon play a big role in the story?
Oh yeah, the moon is kind of ever present and also grants you. She's a character in the story. Grants you some of her various powerful abilities along the way.
Is it a coincidence that Hecate, Artemis, and Selene all wear the same multicolored braid on their clothing?
It's not a coincidence by any means, and Melinoë has that braid as well. They are the Silver Sisters. They are the 4 moon goddesses.
So if I were to say that they were fighting evil by moonlight, you would say...
I don't think I know the reference.
The answer I was looking for was Winning Love by Daylight. It's the Sailor Moon theme song.
Oh my gosh.
If Jen was here, she would have gotten it.
She's going to kill us for not getting it right.
Yeah. I do feel shame.
What's your favorite Greek myth?
I personally love the Odyssey.
Odyssey was similarly my first kind of exposure. I read Iliad later, but the story of Achilles and the Trojan War and all that is always stuck with me.
How many books on ancient religion have you read?
It depends on what you mean by read. I have many that I use as reference. Haven't necessarily read cover to cover, but at this point I've accumulated quite a few.
Is ancient Greece your favorite period to study, or is there another mythology?
I love Japanese and Chinese folklore, and I can't pick a favorite personally.
But haven't you guys heard that Norse is the cool mythology?
Norse is pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
Have either of you been to Greece?
Yes.
I have not.
What's Cronus' relationship to Uranus and Gaia, and are either of those two in Hades too?
Uranus and Gaia are heaven and earth are the parents of Cronus. They are not represented, at least at the moment.
Do any of the other Titan children make an appearance?
There are other Titans in the game. Selene, the moon, is technically a Titan, and even Hecate is often considered a Titan.
Have you written the ending?
We have our outline for where the story is going. Have we written the ending? No.
Are there multiple endings?
We have not made any endings yet. Actually, yeah, there's versions of endings. There's things that happen if you get all the way to the end of the current content that we have. Yes.
Yeah. And actually, some of that stuff you kind of only experience because it's the farewell for now type of ending that exists only in early access, because aspects of the narrative will only appear at the version 1.0 when it's all complete.
Yeah, so in that regard, the game has actually dozens of endings right now.
Which storefronts will Hades 2 launch in early access?
Hades 2 will be in early access on Steam and the Epic Game Store.
Will Hades 2 run on Steam Deck?
Yeah, Hades 2 will run on Steam Deck.
Are you planning a staggered console release like with the first game?
Too early to say, right?
Yeah,
we have to figure that out as we go.
Are you considering adding native speedrunning support like splits and other tools?
For the most part, the speedrunners come up with their own tools and splits and everything that they need for that, and they do it relatively fast. And so our support has mostly been moral support for their efforts, and obviously making a game that is fun to play fast.
Have you guys ever met anyone that thinks that you guys invented Greek mythology?
No. The interesting thing was how many people did think that Zagreus was our invention when he's not.
What's up with Melinoë's weird transparent arm?
You will perhaps find out more about that as you play. I don't necessarily want to get into it just now.
But we have an answer, and you'll discover it.
Yeah.
Be honest, is she slowly turning into Skelly?
Now she is.
What are the familiars?
If you're a witch, you know about familiars, which are they're like your little helper guardians and companions. So Melinoë, as a witch, can take on familiars of her own if she gets advanced enough in her craft.
Why does Melinoë live on the crossroads?
Because she has had to stay hidden, and this is a hidden region where she is beyond the clutches of Chronos.
Is the crossroads in Hades 2 also dedicated to Eazy-E?
No.
Is Remember the Titans just a cautionary tale on Olympus?
I haven't seen that movie. Have you seen that movie?
I haven't. No, I haven't.
Have you seen that movie?
Yes. Well, take my word for it.
Yeah.
It's basically the same as Greek mythology.
A lot of things are.
Can Darren Korb just compose the soundtrack of my life?
It would be really good if he did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Often we just feel like we just got to give you things to do while you listen to Darren Korb music. At Supergiant, that's like the main project, is like, can we give you enough stuff to do?
Will we ever find out who the narrator is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did Hades ever finish all that paperwork?
No.
I don't think so, because people just keep dying.
You've been presented with 3 boons. One from Zeus, one from Aphrodite, one from Hephaestus. Which one do you choose right now?
I'm a little worried about the current balance of the Hephaestus boon, so I'll take Hephaestus. As someone in charge of making sure they're all equally viable, I have a little bit of work to do on those. But yeah, I think right now you gotta grab the Hephaestus boon. Plus it's a little bit newer since he's debuting his boons in Hades 2.
I'll pick Zeus. I don't want to say no to Zeus, just in case.
Can you still fight Charon?
If you play the original Hades game, and you get far enough, there is indeed a secret boss fight where you can fight Charon.
Which mythology would you want to tackle next?
How do we not answer this question while still answering it?
So Bastion sequel win?
We have a lot of Hades 2 to make, Marcus. We just got to finish the Hades 2 video game.
How the hell did you guys manage to get a T rating with Greek mythology?
It's part of the fun.
Hesiod, Homer, Plato. Which one's your favorite?
I mean, I gotta go Homer, right?
When Batman visits Crime Alley, does he press F to pay respects or R1 to brood?
R1 to Brood has not had time to catch on.
Yeah, you're making it a thing it's not yet.
Yeah.
Maybe you're trying to turn it into something it's not. But maybe it will be.
When does Hades 2 enter early access?
Chances are, by the time this sees the light of day, it is already available.
Yeah, you could be playing it now. You could be hitting
Second
R1.
monitor.
Yeah, you could be hitting R1 to brood this very moment.
Well, that's the first run of these questions done. Are you guys ready for 9 more?
Bring it.